Number 9, this guy, it's sad, has no children, never met that special someone, all that stuff. So this is a leaf node, right? Because it has no children. A subtree is just like any subset of the graph, because graphs are recursively defined, so any subset is also a tree. Kind of covered that. Oh, depth. This is a really weird thing, and you'll find that different classes use different conventions. But in 6UNA, we start at 0 at the top, then go 1, then go 2, then go 3, so we kind of go deeper and deeper into the tree. Some classes start from 1, but just remember that we're starting from 0 in this class. And then, so that's the depth of each node. And then the height of this tree is just the depth of the deepest node. So this tree would have a height of 3, yeah, because 3 is the deepest node. Cool. Any questions about trees, like general structure? What do all the lines and circles mean? This is weird. Cool. So if you flip over to the next page, you're going to notice that they've been very nice and actually given you functions that help you construct and deal with trees. So if you notice, you have the tree constructor, right? So what this does is it takes in the value that your root's going to be, which is a number, and then all of the branches, and it makes a tree out of this. So let's actually try to construct a tree, right? And let's start nice and easy. Something a little more gentle like this. So how would we construct this tree? Any ideas? Don't all jump at once for the hardest subject in the course. So so let's say I just want to, I just want to construct this leaf node down here, right? This has no children. So what would the constructor to tree look like for this guy? Looking at the doc video view. Don't be scared, it's not a trick question. Right, because remember we have, I don't know why I erased it, but we have a tree of the root node, and then whatever we pass in is the children of that node, right? But this guy here has no children, right? So this would just be tree of 4. Likewise, how would you construct this leaf node here? Tree of 5. Cool. So let's kind of work our way up. Then we need to construct this subtree right here, right? Well, generally, what's the root node that's going to be? Yeah, the root value is going to be 3, right? Are you seeing kind of the recursive structure creep in? So here we construct a new tree, right? That has its root node as 3, but then each of its children is also a tree. Does this make sense to everyone? This looks really weird the first time you see it. But is this making sense? Cool. Let me just make sure I'm not violating any syntax constraints. Right. So actually, it should be a list of its children. So you'd have 3 and then a list of tree 4, tree 5. Cool. So then we're done constructing all of this now. Let's build this guy. This is really easy, right? It's just what? Tree 1, yeah, this is a leaf node. Cool. And then, so these are the children of that. So how should we build the overall tree?
Tree.
Mm-hmm.
Tree 1.
Oh, you're going to put this in the list?
And then the comma.
Uh-huh.
And then
At the very, awesome, cool, right?
Isn't the last thing a bracket?
Oh, per. And then a parentheses, yeah. Does my syntax not suck? My syntax does not suck that much. Okay, cool. So pretty much we kind of start from a bottom up and saw how this worked. But then if you redraw this, right? Your root node is 2. You go to the children. The first child is just a leaf of 1, right? Because it's just a tree of 1. The second child is itself a tree with a root of 3. And then that root's children our leaf nodes of 4 and 5. And that's how we get kind of back to here. Is this making sense to everyone? Like the recursive nature of trees? Alright, so let's do a little exercise. And I'm just making this up completely as I go. So this may backfire, but we'll find out. Go ahead and draw the tree representation. Take a minute or two. Just draw that tree out on your paper. Can everyone see that? Let me just parse it really quickly and make sure I did create a valid tree. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Probably shouldn't block it. That'd be a good start. Everybody about done? Cool. Who wants to be really, really awesome and come up to the front and draw the tree? For power, for glory, for honor. Do it for your clan. All right, awesome. Show us what you got. Beautiful. All right. Tell me, like, how'd you get to this point?
All right. Well, so the first value is like your root, and then the next two trees, I guess, would be branches of the root. So the first value, which in itself is its own tree, would be 3, and the second one is 2. And the branches of 3, there's only one. It's just 4, which again is its own tree. And then the same applies to 2 and 7.
Fantastic. Great job. They should just fire me and put you like as a TA. That was a really good explanation. Awesome. Everybody kind of see how the recursive nature of trees works out. We solved any questions? Stop me if like stuff is confusing, because once you slip a little bit on these definitions, problems become much more difficult. Cool. All right. So then you'll notice that the way we're actually representing trees in this class are like secretly under the hood. They're actually just lists, right? So like, the tree we just had, I forgot what it was. But when you represent a tree as a list, right? So this is just the tree, right? Because we're representing the tree as a list, this is the root node, and then we're storing 2 trees as its children. And the reason I'm telling you this is, if you don't know that this is how trees are represented, the branches function and the root function they give you doesn't really make that much sense. So this is just kind of like how trees are actually being stored. So you can see why, like, when you call branches on this, you would get, the actual children, right? Because it's just taking everything from this index onwards, and that's just 2 and 3. Yeah.
Should there be brackets or parentheses between the 2 and 3, or should there be any brackets or parentheses between the 2 and 3?
No, so the way it works is this is just the root node, and then you just have every subsequent item in the list is just the children of that root. So it's a little bit confusing because the way that you construct these and the actual internal representation doesn't quite line up. But this is just good to know that this is how they're stored. But that's a really good question.
I'm confused. So that's how they're constructed and this
Yeah.
is how they're stored?
Yeah.
So that's how you would declare it basically?
Yeah.
And then when you call it, it would print that?
So you know that lecture about John will like burn your code, right?
Yeah.
If you violate data abstraction. So you shouldn't be thinking about it all the time as like being stored as a list form, because you should have this idea of an abstraction where you can use, branch, is leaf, root, all those functions to interact with these trees, right? Because you don't want to violate that sort of magical abstraction barrier. But it is kind of good in this case to know that this is how we're actually storing them, because otherwise the functions they give you don't make that much sense, right? So it's just kind of like for your knowledge that they're doing it this way.
Okay.
The 6Q&A staff that built the stream implementation way back before I became a TA, so don't blame me. Any other questions? Cool. So with that in mind, I am going to actually throw y'all directly into the water, and you can work on number 1 on page 7. This is going to be a very hard question, but that's why I'm setting aside 20 minutes to do it. So let's just all talk to the neighbor next to you, try and figure it out. I'm going to be floating around, and just stop me if you have a question. But the hints I will give you, and I'll progressively give more of these as we go into this problem, is this problem is asking you to return a new tree that contains all the elements in the old tree squared. So we talked about this comprehension. You're going to want to use that. You also definitely want to consider recursion, because trees are recursively defined, right? So you want to see how you can use recursion to do what you want. And building off recursion, what would the base case be if we were doing recursion on a tree? So go ahead, you have a pretty good chunk of time, try to work through just number 1. And it might seem weird to give like 20 minutes to one question, but if this is the first time you're contacting trees, this stuff will mess with your head a little bit. So go ahead, get to work, and I'll be floating around, so definitely like flag me down if you have questions. Cool. Like I said, don't feel bad if you look at the first question and you're like, dear God, what's going on? Because that was my reaction to it, 6 Q&A.